we just started asking why. And you know how bad that can be for an entrepreneur, right? You start asking why, and then you ask why again, and well, blah, 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 right? And so we went down the rabbit hole and we learned the thing that really started the company, which is that America used to be of the world about 100 years ago.
Hey, welcome back to the show. And today we are so blessed to have a fellow Rocky Mountain liver, RT. Will you please tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm RT Custer, and I have been building for the last 10 years Vortic Company, V-O-R-T-I-C, Vortic Watch Company in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Love it.
And yeah, our crazy idea roughly 10 years ago, my business partner Tyler and I were playing a round of golf, and we thought, can we make a watch in America, like truly made in USA? And it's taken us a long time, but the answer is a resounding yes. We're here making watches in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Right on. You must have said, watch me do it.
Or it's about time or something like that. Yep.
All right. You must have kids or something, because those dad jokes don't come easily.
I do.
Anyway.
I do. Yep. Two little ones.
Good.
Hopefully take over the family business, or at least some good dad jokes every now and again.
Well, it just happens. There's something about that. So as you decided to build the watch company, I mean, you're sitting on the golf course, you're talking about, why was this important to you? I mean, what problem did you set out to solve? You just don't like the Swiss? You don't like the Chinese? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, well, so it wasn't that we didn't like anything or any of that stuff. It was that we wanted to. We had a bunch of ideas for wristwatches, right? Like it was like, okay, it seems like we're wanting to start a watch company, and we had all these different ideas, and we thought to ourselves, well, if we're going to start a watch company, we should make it in America, because we knew a little bit, and the little bit that we did know is most watches are made in China or Switzerland. And we just started asking why. And you know how bad that can be for an entrepreneur, right? You start asking why, and then you ask why again, and somebody says, well, watches are made in China or Switzerland. Why? Well, blah, 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 right? And so we went down the rabbit hole, and we learned the thing that really started the company, which is that America used to be of the world about 100 years ago. And there were these 10 companies that we call the Great American Watch Companies. And they manufactured pocket watches in the USA in cities like Boston and Chicago about 100 years ago, really from 1850 to 1950. Wow. And over 100 million pocket watches were made in America during that 100 years. And today, it's crazy. And most people don't know this. Yeah, most people have no idea that America was the Switzerland of the world. Like I said, it's like, and they were little mechanical movements. So they're, this is way before electricity even. So like in manufacturing. And so it's a little engine that tells time. And that's what we do, is we take an antique American pocket watch and we turn it into a wristwatch. So everything inside the watch is old, roughly 100 years old, and everything outside the watch is new and built in Colorado. And that's really our concept, is upcycling these pieces of American history, because we realize that most pocket watches today are getting scrapped for gold or silver of the case, like the outside of the pocket watch.
Right.
And by saving the old pocket watches, we were solving our original problem we set out, which is we're making a truly, 100% American-made watch by, using these old movements or the inside of the old pocket watches.
So are these actual old pieces of pocket watches, or are these just replicates of how they were built?
No, it's all original on the inside. I'm holding, this is one of my personal watches that they have. It's all gold in there that you can see. And
shut up.
It's a little engine that tells time. These pocket watch mechanisms, or we call it the movement, is a set of roughly 100 pieces, gears and springs and pieces of metal. This one was made in Chicago, Elgin, Illinois. And this one was made in 1941 for the U.S. Army Air Corps, what became the Air Force. So this was a World War II pocket watch flown in a B-17. And now it's a wristwatch that I wear every day and celebrate the history of America and American made and military history and all
Shut
that stuff.
up.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. That's freaking awesome, actually.
So we call it the American Artisan Series, and we launched
Uh-huh.
that idea on Kickstarter in 2014.
Yeah.
And basically the claim to fame was not only is it a pocket watch turned into wristwatch, which we can do everything from, finding them in estate sales to, taking your grandpa's
Right.
pocket watch and turning it into wristwatch as a service. But also,
Cool.
solving that original problem, which is we're making a truly American made watch. And we thought, and now we know, people want that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now these are obviously not a Swatch watch. I mean, what's the price tag on these collections? What's typically a watch selling for in your lineup?
Yeah, so currently our prices are $2,000 to $12,000. They're all individually priced. Each one
Love it.
is one of a kind. Like the watch that I have on my wrist is a one of a kind, never to be made again product. And so
Wow.
we price them like art. So each one is individual, it has its own story, has its own page on our website for every single watch. If you buy that watch, it is yours, and no one else will have anything like it. And so it's
So
more
cool.
art than watch. And that's where the price point of our current product comes from. And our mission is still to make watches in the USA. And I say a lot, and I've said a lot over the last 10 years that I wish we could make more, because we can only make a few hundred of these watches a year, and they're not cheap, right?
Right.
So,
right.
That's really our next phase is making more.
I was just gonna say, where are we going with this? Because you can only find so many estate sales, garage sales, or thrift shops you can find these watches in. What is the next play? What are you guys up to?
Yeah, so September 26th, we're launching a new company. We call it a sister company or sister brand called Colorado Watch Company. And
Nice.
And we're making watches in Colorado using all modern materials, and it's mostly made in USA. Obviously, we have to source some from overseas at this point, because watches are still, for the most part, even 10 years later, today, they're still made in China or Switzerland. But we do have some people that can help us. And so now we're starting this new company, Colorado Watch Company, so that we can make thousands of watches a year, not just hundreds. Nothing's changing about this product. We'll still make roughly 300 a year. Vortic Watch Company stays the same, but now we'll have a sister brand or a separate company that we can scale, hopefully massively, and make thousands of watches in America for a starting price of less than $1,000.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Very cool. And are they going to be self-operated, like same mechanical motions as the classics, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, so we're using all mechanical movements, but the old pocket watches are all manually wound. And so you wristwatch, you have to wind it up every day, and that's part of the charm, but also it's 100 years old, and so that's just the way they did it back then. Our new Colorado Watch Company watches will be automatic. So as you move your wrist, they will wind, and you can watch the rotor, that thing in the back, spin around and wind it. Some people call it self-winding. Most people call it automatic. And so that's what it is.
So just the normal pace and action of your arms will charge it.
Exactly. Yeah. No batteries. You don't have to plug it in. You don't have to do anything like that. As long as you move enough, it's going to wind itself. And if you aren't moving enough, you can literally wind it, just like I do these.
Love it. Love it. Dude, that's freaking awesome. Way to go. What a cool company.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey, and it's been super fun. And like I said, just, it's great that people want to support made in USA in all industries, even watches.
Dude, I'm all in. This sounds amazing. I can't wait to see the lineup. So launching September, October of 2023. And where do you see? I mean, how are you going to know demand? Like, starting in manufacturing is a very big deal. What are you looking at in terms of setup for this?
Well, so we in the last 10 years, just trying to figure out how to make our current product and take a pocket watch, turn it into a wristwatch, we've had to build out our own manufacturing because, I mean, really nobody makes this kind of stuff. And so
Sure.
I'm sitting in our manufacturing facility. It's 8,500 square feet. We have 10 employees. We have millions of dollars worth of CNC machines, or machines that take a chunk of metal and cut it and turn it into
Nice.
bits and pieces of watches. And so we're set up to scale and we're ready. And the way we're doing it is we're using Kickstarter. So we're going to crowdfund for 30 days. And basically the ask is, I mean, what I said in the video that we just recorded is, if you think watches should be made in America, we've proven that they can. Come support Colorado Watch Company, and let's make thousands and not hundreds. Because in my mind, made in USA isn't just the literal definition of where it's made. In my mind, it also involves the word value. Like, people want a really strong value for the money. And in order to achieve a great value on a luxury wristwatch, we need to make a lot of them. We need to make thousands, not hundreds. And so the only way I can predict how many to make is by saying, okay, here's the idea. Here's where it is. It's on Kickstarter. It's crowdfunding. You get a discount for pre-ordering the product. If we sell hundreds, we make hundreds. If we sell thousands, we scale up and we make thousands, right? So it's a gamble, but it's a good one, I think.
It's a smart play.
Yeah,
smart play.
That's where we're headed.
I mean, your heavy cost is already in with the CNC machines and all that kind of good stuff. Now it's just a matter of how much labor do you need to throw the stuff together, right?
Basically, yep. Which watchmakers and people that help us build watches are very hard to find. You know, the skilled trade gap is a real thing for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, we are ready to scale. We have partners. All of our manufacturing partners can make thousands, not hundreds. And so,
cool.
I don't see anything holding us back besides just generating the demand and telling people we exist, which is why I'm sitting here today with you.
I just wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about a program that we have assembled with a lot of our podcast guests and a lot of people who are listening to the show who are feeling the same way that they do. There's a recurring theme. You'll hear a lot of these founders talk about, I couldn't have done it without my team. I couldn't have done it without a support group of peers. I couldn't have done it without having someone to talk to that understood my feeling of isolation as an operator of my business. You see, you're not alone. It is hard running a business, and it's even harder when you know you can't express all your deepest concerns and frustrations with your executive team. It makes them nervous. It gets them scared. You don't want scared people on your executive team. So where do you turn? The Captain's Council is where you turn. The Captain's Council, it is an organization that we are put together with podcast guests, as well as people who are listening who are in the same boat. You see, peers are the only ones that can give you the type of empathy, the type of advice that only a founder or operator know and understand. Go check it out at captainscouncil.com. I know you're going to love what you see there. We have put together an organizational structure that has small group settings, a global community of founders and operators, as well as monthly and quarterly in-person events. You're going to love what you see there. I can't wait for you to check it out and enjoy the rest of this episode. Love it. Love it. Have fun. Well, for those of you listening, you may not be starting a manufacturing company, but you may be facing some of the same challenges. How do you diversify your brand? And how do you get your, sometimes it means making another brand that's a sister company of the mother product, which is a smart play in a situation like this. I think your decision to keep the authenticity of that pocket watch brand itself, and then starting this other brand as a different name, different entity, different all the other stuff, I think it's a really smart idea. What was the big driver in that? Have you always planned on doing this, or what was your thought going into that?
Well, when we started the company, the name Vortic is actually from Vortex and TikTok. And we had a bunch of other ideas that involved like bezels, when you turn the bezel, it does some cool stuff. And so we were playing around with like this vortex kind of concept. And then we came up with the pocket watch to wristwatch idea. And so the name stuck, even though it's not necessarily directly for that. Yeah.
Right.
But now, it's been 10 years. And so especially my customers and people in the watch industry, they associate what's called a pocket watch conversion, or when we take a pocket watch and turn it into a wristwatch, they associate that with the word Vortic, like those two dudes in Colorado. That Colorado watch company is taking pocket watches and turning them into wristwatches. And
Gotcha.
And that's what people are saying is like, that's our current product. And so it doesn't make sense for us to come out with just a whole new, totally separate product under that same name. It might be confusing. Right. And then, like I just said, most people, if they forget our company name, Vortic, or vorticwatches.com, they will just search Colorado Watch Company because they know there's only one Colorado Watch Company. And so when we had the idea of like, what do we call our new company? We were like, well, what are people going to put into Google? That, right? And we already own the SEO. So if you Google before Colorado Watch Company exists, like as we record this, if you Google Colorado Watch Company, it's going to go straight to Vortic. So we already own the SEO, and now we can just layer on top of that and grow.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I wonder how long it'll take you to rank ahead of Vortic once you unleash the domain.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because now we're fighting, PR and all that kind of stuff, but we're getting new PR and hopefully, all kinds of new articles and things like that about just specifically Colorado Watch Company. But the exciting thing is now we're not just selling watches, we're selling the adventure and the freedom and the allure and the mystery of the state of Colorado, which, mean, is fantastic from a marketing standpoint. So that's what I'm excited about mostly.
Fantastic, dude. I love it. I can only imagine you're going to have series based on different parts of the mountains, different colors, different things. Yeah, I'm visualizing where you're going with this. This is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's going to be super fun.
So along the way, I mean, 10 years in business is a long time it's longer than most, and so as you've been able to build this, there has to have been some like key moments in that previous 10 years that have led to like, I'm so grateful we made that decision. Now that got us past this hump. That got us past this hump. What are some highlights along the way? I mean, what's been some of the things you've been able to overcome to get where you're at?
Well, so highlights low and high, because to your point, it's a roller coaster, especially across 10 years. In 2015, after we launched the company on Kickstarter, but before we shipped a single final product to a customer, we were sued by the Swatch Group, the world's largest watch conglomerate. And
sorry, I brought up their name.
No, earlier. It's okay. It's not a sensitive subject because fast forward 6 years, it was a 6-year lawsuit, a federal trademark lawsuit that almost made it to the Supreme Court. The lawsuit is called Hamilton v. Vortic because the Swatch Group owns the brand Hamilton, and we take Hamilton pocket watches, among others, and turn them into wristwatches. And so they thought we were using their name without their permission, using their trademark without their permission. So that would be like the lowest point is there are low points throughout a massive lawsuit like that from a financial standpoint, from a legal standpoint, from I started a family during that time. I've had 2 kids during the lawsuit, right? So like there's a lot of, I'm surprised I still have a full head of hair, honestly. Like it was a mess.
Seriously.
But so that was obviously like a roller coaster in itself, but huge learnings that came out of that. And obviously I feel extremely grateful to have won a federal lawsuit against the Goliath of our industry, which has now gained us a lot of, claim to fame, credibility, notoriety.
Right. Street cred.
Yeah. I mean, I'm raising money right now, and I thought it would be a lot harder to raise money than it is. But, a lot of these people that I'm talking to, potential investors, they're just like, well, you already did the hardest thing you're probably ever going to have to do. So like, this has been de-risked, so that's a big one.
Wow.
And then like more tactical, when the pandemic hit, first of all, we didn't realize that and how could you know that for some reason 2020 and 2021 would be the 2 best years in the wristwatch industry ever. Everyone's locked in their homes or like the pandemic is a real thing, but people have extra money,
right.
and they're buying stuff on the internet, and people bought millions of watches in those 2 years. And so those were our two best years from a
Wow.
direct to consumer standpoint. But they were only our
Nice.
best years because right in the beginning of the pandemic, we were taking, and for about 2 years prior to that, we were taking mostly custom orders. So people would either send us a pocket watch, or they would choose from a pocket watch on our website, and then we would make it custom just for them. And it would take
Right.
like 6 to 8 make their watch. But when the pandemic hit, nobody wanted to wait that long for anything. People wanted instant gratification. And so in June of 2020, we switched the business model, and we called it Watch of the Day. And every single day, 7 days a week, we produced one new one-of-a-kind watch that we dropped on the internet at the same time, 12 noon every single day. And we sold out.
Love it.
Exactly. And we were
Everybody
like, remember Woot.com back in the day? We built Woot.com for watches during the pandemic, and we were selling watches like crazy. They were selling instantly.
I love it.
One of the best ideas that Tyler and I have ever had. And it was the same.
Were you auctioning them, or was it just a flat price every day?
Just a flat price. Like here's the new watch.
You got to auction that bad boy.
I know we thought about it, but like had customers who said like I would have bought that, like I would have paid twice as much or whatever. But
totally,
it was really cool, and we served a lot of people, and a lot of people like really got excited about it. We obviously had a huge website traffic spike every day, so that was probably one of our better ideas, and kept us alive in a healthy way through the pandemic, especially from a financial standpoint. So little pivots, along the way. It's what I was trying to say is it was the same thing from a manufacturing standpoint. Like whether we're doing custom made to order, or whether we did the watch of the day thing, we were making one watch a day on average. So we didn't internally change a thing. We just flipped it, and we said, okay, we're just selling only what we make, instead of making what we sell.
I love it, dude. That's what a fun pivot. What a fun strategy. But I can see why you probably got a little bit anxious of saying, all right, how much more supply can we get of this raw material to convert to watches? Let's think about starting this additional brand that you're doing now.
Totally. Yeah. And there's plenty of pocket watches out there. I mean, it's certainly going to get harder for us to cherry pick the best ones that we do today. But at a certain point, like we made 425 watches in 2018. And that was hard. It was very difficult to make that many. And it really put a lot of stresses on different parts of our supply chain. And even at $5,000 a watch, if we got there, that's still a small business, right? For some, I think that's a good business. But for us, like we want to scale. We want to make thousands of something, and so that's why we're coming out with this new brand.
Love it. I love it. What a fun idea. And now, you've already described a lot of the big challenges that kind of pivoted you forward into these better decisions. I would say that the vast majority of entrepreneurs today are not manufacturing anything, right? There's a lot of software, there's a lot of SaaS, there's a lot of service-oriented companies, but there are some select few who are building really, really cool products. A lot of them building here in the U.S. Believe it or not, I've actually talked to more. This is a great trend we're seeing of people taking pride in this American-built stuff, and I for one love to buy American when I can, and I love what you're doing. What advice do you have for others who are considering it or are in the throes of it and saying, "Man, I can't compete with China and Switzerland in my industry"? What do you say to them? How do you help them?
Yeah. So number one piece of advice is if you want to make things in America for marketing purposes, you should not do it. Because it's very, very difficult, right? So there has to be some sort of other why than just, I think we can sell a little bit more. I think we can charge a little bit more if it's made here. it doesn't pencil unless
The
your
math isn't
entire
working.
company, yeah, like you need to have your entire company, all your core values, everyone in this building feels the same way, that if it should be made here, or if it can be made here, then it should be made here. Like, I mean, our trademarked slogan as a company since the day we started was America wasn't assembled, it was built. And
Ooh.
and I created that because
Ooh.
most companies
Love that.
they import parts from around the country or around the world, and then they
Right.
assemble them in the United States, and then they stamp made in USA on the back of the watch or back of the product, and they get in trouble for that because
Right.
that's not what it is. It needs to be
Right.
built here. And our new products under Colorado Watch Company, we're saying not just made in USA, but built in Colorado, because now
Wow.
my statement is opening Pandora's box, and it's saying, hey, come here to Colorado and let me show you what I've built, right? Like it's about Colorado, it's about this building, it's about my team here that are artisans, and we do something that somebody can't. So you have to have this company-wide culture and passion around it, like Origin, you know, as a company, they do all kinds of amazing stuff, mostly in clothing. And clearly, like, it's to their soul is it should be made here. So that's the first advice, is make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Love it.
And then the second advice is really do your homework, because a lot of people that sell you the raw materials or the other components, you know, I don't want to say there's bad people in the world, but like there's a lot of people that don't do enough research, and you say, hey, I want to, like, we've had so many issues where it's like, I want to make a t-shirt and I want my t-shirt to be made in USA. And you just Google like made in USA t-shirt company and you order the first one, and like, you know, they put the tag on in America, and then they called it like assembled or the packaged or designed in USA. Like there's so many swindlers in that. And that's why I say, if you're doing it for marketing, don't do it. If you're doing it for passion and pride and patriotism, like, that's why you do it.
You brought up some great points there that every business owner should be thinking. And that is, really be clear on your core values, really be clear on your mission. You know, you clearly have a mission and values that are aligning your entire team, your product, even your buyers are aligned with what you guys are doing. And I think the more you repeat that, the more you emphasize that, the more you build off of that. That is how you build the audience. So that is how you build the traction that you need to build and grow the way you have. So bravo to you in doing all this. You know, I don't want to let you leave without getting a shout out of why? Like, who you been leaning on? Who you been going to for advice and doing this thing?
Well, I mean, you know, first shout out that you probably won't be able to find them on Instagram, but my dad has always been just a mentor, and you know, my cheerleader. I mean, my whole family, but specifically my dad. And he was my role model, right? I definitely believe in nurture over nature, even though I certainly was in some ways born to be an entrepreneur. But more specifically, I'd like to call out my friend Chris Harder. Chris is a podcaster, a mentor to me. He's an amazing entrepreneur, and Chris, you know, we met over watches originally. He was a watch collector. He ran a mastermind. I tried to pay for his mastermind with a watch, you know, and get in the room. But he's always been a mentor to me and taught me so much. So if you're listening,
did you get in?
Thank you. Yeah. I was in his mastermind, and then I went so well, I actually bought his mastermind. I've ran it for a couple of years. So
nice.
Great mentor.
Good for you. Boy, I wish I knew that ahead of time. I love talking to guys that build a good mastermind. And for those of you listening, if you aren't part of a mastermind, if you're not part of a community, you need to find one that you fit in, because I mean, RT, how much value do you get out of your mastermind?
Oh, I've joined and been part of so many, so much value. I mean, just from Chris's mastermind, and the one that I've run now for a while is called Fast Foundations.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And that's what it was for me, is just getting some of that foundational help and advice. But more importantly, it's how I've met most of my entrepreneurial friends. How else are we going to meet people that think like us and are just crazy and have these crazy ideas and make that okay, than if we join a room full of other people like us. So that's what I get.
Fantastic. Woo! RT, love that shout out. And for those of you listening, be paying attention. Masterminds, council meetings, groups of peers, it is the way to build and grow. The best way is to talk to other people that are actively operating a business right now. So love the shout out, RT. Love the shout out to the dad. And we look forward to catching all of you on the next episode. RT, thanks for taking the time to be here today.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Isn't he an amazing guy? I mean, RT is building the most amazing watches. He's taking an American legendary piece of classic history, turning them into watches, and now building a strong American branded watch company. I love it. I honestly, I cannot wait to go out to his facility, check it out, and see what they're doing. We're neighbors here in the Rocky Mountains, so I can't wait to check it out. But RT, like many of you, are building amazing and wonderful things. One of the things that RT talked about at the end of the interview was the fact that he liked his mastermind so much, he ended up buying the mastermind. Now, not everyone's expected to do that, and not everyone really knows the value of what a mastermind can do for you. But what I'm here to tell you is that today's episode is sponsored by captainscouncil.com. If you haven't heard about Captain's Council yet, you gotta know that it's a community of other CEOs and founders who are building and growing their businesses right now. They're actively running and operating, but we put them in groups of peer advisory boards, a council per se. Thus, these 8 to 12 captains of their companies come together and counsel on things that matter to their growth and scaling objectives. It's an amazing place to get feedback, not just from anybody that's on the street, but from other people who have successfully launched and are successfully growing and scaling their companies. There is no better place to find that type of advisory. You can't find it one-on-one. You can only find it in a group like Captain's Council. Come check it out. We'd love to have you come attend one of our meetings and be part of our community. This podcast is sponsored by Captain's Council, but it is a great first step to learn what kind of value we bring to the table. We're interviewing experienced founders, operators of big businesses who are telling their story, talking about the things that matter to them in their growth journey, and it's only going to bless your life if you pay attention. So come on, be part of our podcast community, but also check out captainscouncil.com today, because we want you to be part of our council. We'll see you there.